The Middle East has just witnessed something that could change the balance of power for decades to come. Imagine two giants of the Muslim world, Saudi Arabia and Pakistan, not just trading oil, aid, or military training, but actually pledging to defend each other's borders, each other's sovereignty, and even if it comes to that, their very survival. This isn't speculation, this is reality. The Saudi-Pakistan Mutual Defense Pact is not just another handshake agreement, it's a turning point in geopolitics. Now, before we dive in, if you're finding value in these deep dives into global power shifts, I'd really appreciate if you could like this video and share it with someone who follows world affairs. It helps the channel grow and keeps these discussions alive. Let's get into it. This defense pact was signed in Riyadh in a carefully orchestrated ceremony between Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman and Pakistan's Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif. For decades, Saudi Arabia and Pakistan have been close. Pakistan's soldiers have guarded Saudi soil. Saudi money has kept Pakistan afloat during economic storms. But this pact is different. It's not just about cooperation, it's about a binding commitment. If one is attacked, the other will treat it as an attack on itself. In essence, this echoes NATO's Article 5, except this time, it's in the Muslim world, and one of the partners is a nuclear power. That nuclear angle changes everything. Pakistan is not part of the Global Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty. Its arsenal is its own, outside Western frameworks. And while officials were vague about whether nuclear deterrence is formally on the table, the ambiguity itself is a signal. It tells the world, if you push too far, we might escalate beyond conventional means. That's a deterrent in its own right. Now, why is this happening now? The timing is no coincidence. The region has been boiling. Just recently, an Israeli strike on Doha during ceasefire negotiations shocked the region, undermined diplomatic talks, and left Arab capitals furious. The Arab League and the Organization of Islamic Cooperation met in emergency sessions. But the outcome was just words, condemnations, statements, nothing binding. Out of that vacuum came this: Saudi Arabia and Pakistan deciding to take matters into their own hands. A bilateral defense pact, not waiting for broader coalitions or the West. Here's a hook to think about. People used to talk about an Arab NATO. That never really materialized. But do you actually need one when you have Saudi Arabia, the oil giant, and Pakistan, the nuclear-armed military heavyweight, locking arms in a formal alliance? This agreement also signals something bigger, a shift away from total dependence on the United States. For decades, Saudi Arabia relied on Washington's military umbrella. But now, with America overstretched and global trust in U.S. security guarantees thinning, Riyadh is hedging its bets. Aligning with Pakistan gives it immediate strategic depth. And for Pakistan, aligning with Saudi Arabia means not only financial lifelines, but also a much stronger geopolitical card to play, especially against its arch-rival India. Speaking of India, this pact doesn't sit well in New Delhi. Officially, Saudi officials claim strengthening ties with Pakistan won't harm relations with India. But let's be honest, when Riyadh formalizes a defense pact with your nuclear-armed neighbor, it changes the equation. India now has to recalculate both its South Asian and Gulf strategies. And what about Iran? This is where the plot thickens. Pakistan has always walked a careful line between Riyadh and Tehran. But this pact tilts Islamabad firmly towards Saudi Arabia, at least militarily. Tehran will likely deepen ties with China and Russia in response, which could further entrench the multipolar nature of today's Middle East. Israel, too, is affected. The possibility of Saudi-Israeli normalization just moved further out of reach. Pakistan doesn't even recognize Israel as a state, and now its defense pact partner is Riyadh. That narrows the diplomatic space significantly. And then there's Washington. The U.S. now faces a scenario where its most important Gulf ally is making defense arrangements independently, outside of American frameworks. That's a problem for U.S. influence in the region, and a clear sign of the global trend toward multipolarity. Let me pause here and ask you this. What do you think this means for the balance of power in the Middle East? Is this pact the first building block of a truly independent Muslim-majority security framework, or just a temporary response to current tensions? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. I'd love to hear how you see it. Now, let's return to the core of this alliance. Beyond the high-level geopolitics, the Saudi-Pakistan relationship has always been rooted in both defense and economics. Since the late 1960s, Pakistan has trained more than 8,000 Saudi officers and soldiers. Joint exercises across land, air, and sea have become routine. And Saudi Arabia has consistently been there for Pakistan, with oil subsidies, cash injections, and investments when the Pakistani economy wobbled. This pact formalizes what has long been happening in practice. But it also sets the stage for much deeper military integration, shared intelligence, coordinated defense planning, and potentially joint command structures in the future. The nuclear ambiguity we touched on earlier makes this pact even more consequential. When Pakistani officials were pressed, they refused to draw red lines publicly. Instead, they left it vague. All military means are on the table. That's deliberate. It keeps adversaries guessing and makes any potential aggression far riskier. Now, consider the broader implications. For China, this is good news. Beijing is close to Islamabad, and Saudi Arabia is central to China's energy security. With this pact, China's leverage in the Middle East expands, giving it a stronger position against U.S. influence. Russia, too, benefits indirectly. Moscow has been pushing for a multipolar order, and this pact fits neatly into that vision. But there are risks. Pakistan is still entangled in its rivalry with India. Any Saudi entanglement in that conflict, even indirectly, could escalate tensions in South Asia. And let's not forget, Saudi Arabia has its own regional struggles, particularly with Iran and with the fallout of conflicts in Yemen and beyond. Tying the defense of both nations together raises the stakes in every confrontation. That said, this could also be an opportunity. By formalizing defense cooperation, both countries might actually prevent wars rather than start them. Strong deterrence, especially when nuclear ambiguity is in play, can stop adversaries from even thinking about aggression. Zooming out, what we're witnessing is part of a wider transformation of the Middle East. Old alliances defined by the Cold War and by U.S. dominance are fading. In their place, new arrangements are being built. More regional, more self-reliant, and more multipolar. The Saudi-Pakistan Pact is a flagship example. If you've been following this channel, you know this isn't happening in isolation. From the Shanghai Cooperation Organization to the BRICS expansion, from new energy corridors to defense realignments, we're seeing the birth of a very different world order. This pact is a brick in that wall. As we look ahead, expect a few things. First, greater military drills and joint planning between Saudi and Pakistani forces. Second, cautious but increasing signals from Riyadh that it doesn't need U.S. security guarantees in the same way it once did. And third, growing nervousness in capitals from New Delhi to Tel Aviv, from Washington to Tehran. In short, the Middle East has entered a new era. The Saudi-Pakistan Mutual Defense Pact is not just a bilateral agreement. It's a statement. It's a message to the world. We are ready to defend ourselves together on our own terms. And with that, let me thank you for staying with me through this deep dive. If you enjoyed this breakdown and want to keep up with more shifts in global power, don't forget to like this video, subscribe, and ring the notification bell so you never miss an update. Your support means the world, and it helps us keep bringing you these analyses. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.